Alright guys, welcome to another video from Wheel Hobbies. Today we're going to be fitting an uprated fuel pump in this OG Saab 9.3. So I've got one of these out all ready to go, so I can do a video on modifying this to take an uprated fuel pump. So we got the fuel pump and housing and sender unit. We've got a Chemzo fuel pump. Cheap fuel pump these are, they're about 30 quid. Tried and tested them on a good few builds now, not had a problem with these, so I'd recommend them. Pack of bits, some hose, which I would just bin and not use, some really bad clips, which I'd just bin and not use, filter and strainer, probably just going to be recycling the one that's on the original pump. Got some hose and some proper fuel pipe clips. Don't use anything other than these for fuel hose, guys. I know some people use Jubilee clips, but these are the proper thing for the job. Use them. Even biting force around the pipe. How's Gary today?
Doing top jobs.
What are you doing?
Wheel bearing.
Oh dear.
BMW, lovely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll leave you to it then.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah. So start by snipping this pipe off here, because you're not going to need it. I need two hands for that. So snip it off there and snip it off at the pump, because you're probably not going to use it, and that's where this is going to be coming in. So you want to pop off all of those clips all the way around there for the pot. So that'll reveal the strainer, which is around the pump on this particular one. Just pop that out of there. Take your fuel pump. It's a tight fit, but it just about fits in that strainer. Some of them you sometimes have to trim a little bit out in here to modify them to fit, and the chances are by the time I take that pump out of there, I'm going to have to trim a bit of this here, and that'll probably fit that way. So I opted to cut this rubber centre out here, which was part of that anyway, which wouldn't have even fitted the uprated fuel pump anyway. Again, I've done that a few times in the past, never had a problem with that, so that. So after sitting that back in there, just going to pop this back on, clip all these clips back in there. We're going to have to run a piece of fuel hose from there to there, but it's got to coil round neatly. When you put this back in and you put it back in the tank, you have to watch that you don't kink the fuel hose. I've also done that before now. Basically wondering why the car won't run, and you've got a piece of fuel hose that's sort of like that, with the way it coils round. As you can see, you've got to route it in a certain way so that it's not going to kink. So we'll put you back on when we've got that back together. So as for removing the actual fuel pump itself and the sender unit, what you can do, the proper way of doing this is to get it on a ramp, drop the fuel tank and take it all out. I've opted to just do it this way. Some will consider this a bodge. If you've got, you know, a sort of a limited edition car like a Vigan, you wouldn't want to do it this way. Basically, a lot of people just cut a hole in the floor there, because most cars just have an inspection hole there anyway. It actually has one here, which is just in completely the wrong place. I think it allows you to access some wiring, that's about it. So those are your options: cut a hole there or drop the tank. Obviously I'll make a nice plate to go back on there, which will be tiger sealed in place, and then you put your seats back down. So that's how I've routed the fuel pipe. Just comes from the pump there and coils round nice and freely back to there, so there's no kinks in that. There's a little bit of movement for when you're putting it in the tank. A couple of other useful things that come in the pack. You can solder these if you want, but you've got to use that connector. Cut those off, they're no good to you. You can either solder them in, or I just opted to use these connectors that came in the pack, and just crimped them with these. then snip the wire back. So yeah, that's the fuel pump and housing sender unit all ready to go back in. When you do it and you take them out, be really careful with these, especially in cold weather. I snapped that and I snapped that. Slightest bit of pressure on that and it just snaps straight off. So what I'm having to do is the same thing as I've done here. I'm going to have to sleeve that over to there with some fuel hose. And the existing ones of them which I broke, I'm going to cut back just there. So I'll be able to sleeve it along there and across on the new one. So join that up. Again, using these proper fuel hoses. So that's it really. So what did I use for taking the nut off? So there's the nut. Gary, what's this tool called? What did that come with?
Hub puller.
So a hub puller kit, managed to put it together, and it just so happens to slot in those grooves. Absolutely lovely, because you can try and hit these with a chisel as I was doing and you just end up breaking them and not turning them evenly. So pressure itself from turning wasn't quite enough, so I just got a pair of Stilsons just on the back of there, bit of leverage, left arm to pull it that way, right hand push that way, it comes straight out. So I'm going to use this to install it back in. So that's it for this video. Gary's still enjoying working on the BMW there. So cheers guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. We will be doing a lot of editing soon. We've got a lot of footage of the Saab 9.3 with a turbo upgrade, exhaust work, intercooler work, all sorts of stuff. So the videos at that should be out soon. The next few weeks there'll be a series on that, and then we'll take it to the dyno and see what power it makes. So cheers guys.